What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the MG YouTube channel. CEO of Elite Automates, Elite Properties, and investor in Tesla. We're about to actually engage FSD while I'm talking to you guys, but today's video is going to be talking about Tesla superchargers and having micro charge stations. So I think one of the biggest things that's kind of missing from Tesla's supercharger network, which they have one of the best supercharger networks in the world. So I can't say anything against like what they're already doing. You know, they're already accomplishing more than any other company in the world by far, probably at least 10x. But one of the big things that they're missing is partnerships with smaller companies. Not partnerships with smaller companies as like a global market, but like just smaller facilities. So a perfect example would be like a McDonald's, right? A Subway, any of these big fast food chains would be perfect. And so they do have some partnerships, right? So you see a lot of partnerships with like Myers grocery stores. And so that partnership, it's kind of great. You know, like pretty much anywhere there's a Meijer, there's going to be a Tesla supercharger. So, and that gives you the kind of the benefit of like, okay, I can stop in there. For somebody like me, I'm kind of health conscious, so like I might go in there and get like smoked salmon, or you know, if I want to treat myself like some sushi or something. So that's kind of nice, being able to just like pop into the grocery store real quick. Or you know, for like us when we're back at home, we go to the grocery store a lot, like while we're supercharging. For like the Cybertruck that has you know, lifetime free supercharging, right? You know, we basically want to charge the supercharger as much as possible, so we'll go there and we'll park and go grocery shopping while we're charging. So that makes it like super convenient for like us being like local people, and anybody who like, you know, lives in an apartment or something like that. That could be your strategy as well, to make it so that like having an EV is doable, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, how do I charge the thing? Well, if you have a local Meijer, you can just go to the Meijer and charge it while you're in the grocery store, and you know, that'll get you to 80, 90, how much ever percentage, and then you can ride off that for maybe even a whole week if you don't drive all that much. But again, going back to like where they need these partnerships is they need it with like the McDonald's. They need them where like people are kind of running in for like a short period of time. And the reason for that is because like a lot of these partnerships, they're not even like necessarily partnerships. They're just kind of like at a random location. Like this one's with the gas station, this one's with that. You know, at least like with the Meijer, when you know what you're getting. Okay, I'm gonna pull up to a Meijer, I know what's kind of there, I can kind of plan around that. With most of the other superchargers that are like, you know, out on the interstates and stuff like that, they're not really like in a partnership, right? Maybe like one good one that I've seen that's kind of a partnership. I don't know how like fleshed out it is, and you know, how big the partnership is, and if they're continuing to grow the partnership, or if they just did the partnership at a few locations. But Sheetz gas station, that's a really good one, because if you know anything about a Sheetz gas station, they're like a little bit bigger gas station. They have good variety of like drinks and, you know, like slushies and just like everything a good gas station has. And then Sheetz even has their own like fast food restaurant built into it. So that's really cool. Somebody can go in there and get them some like fast food. And I also really like the conversion of like gas stations to electrification stations, right? Where I think that like pretty much any gas station that doesn't become electrification station is going to end up kind of dying. Just because like people are not going to need gas. Like there might be people like just run in and go grab, you know, an energy drink and stuff. But if you're not stopping to get gas, that's going to kind of like discourage like the culture of like people going to like the gas stations. If you're not stopping at all, then a lot of people will say, well, I'll just buy it at the grocery store, make sure I have enough to last me through the week, versus like somebody who stops to get gas like every day or something like that. Like they just make it part of their routine or whatever. Now some people that don't stop and get gas every day and they still make it part of their routine, but it's not going to be for everybody. Now I understand like one challenge with this model is that the infrastructure cost of superchargers is quite high. If I'm not mistaken, like the number's like roughly like $20,000. Then it depends on the size of the charge station, but a small one I think is like $20,000, maybe like 4 stalls or something like that, 8 stalls. I'll try to maybe find some data on that, on what stalls cost what. But There's also an option there that I've seen another company do that I think would be like really good for Tesla to do, just on a branding standpoint. But one of the big constraints with a Tesla Supercharger is the Superchargers pull a lot of current, right? You're dumping a ton of power into the battery of a vehicle, and you're doing it very quickly. And so with that being said, like, part of the infrastructure that's there is you have to convert, AC power to DC power, and that's part of the reason why it's fast charging, is because you're converting the AC to DC charging, and having to do that through big inverters. But so one thing that can be done there, and that I've seen other companies do, is like kind of trickle charging a power pack, right, a battery bank. And for Tesla, this works out perfectly because they have the Tesla Powerwall. So they could either use the Powerwall, or they could use some mini version, maybe like the Mega Pack or something like that. But I don't even think they need to have like 4 stations in one of these McDonald's locations. Even 1 or 2 stations would be plenty enough. Literally just 1. Like, if you could say, hey, we could do it, but we can only do 1 station per location, I think that's good enough, right? You're not gonna be able to like service everybody. Ooh, it's gonna disengage. It's gonna happen. We just hit a water puddle and it's raining, so I thought maybe it was gonna disengage. But sometimes that happens when you hit a water puddle. So also, why I like to shoot these videos while in FSD, so we can kind of talk about some of these things as they pop up. But if you charge the battery pack, you can now charge that battery pack on a 24-hour time period, and lower the amperage off your line power. So like you can run it at like say for instance at home, you run your home charger at like 60 amps, right? For like a not a version 2 charger, a level 2 charger. It's on a 60 amp breaker and it runs at 48 amps. So you could run something like that where it's like constantly 24 hours a day running 48 amps. But then whenever somebody comes and plugs in, it basically dumps the power off the battery into the vehicle. So that way that 48 amps never really changes. And again, you could like step it up to where like maybe it's more than 48 amps. Maybe you just make it to like 100 amps. But again, you're charging battery packs versus like having to pull that power directly from the line. I'm not sure what a Supercharger pulls, but I guarantee you it's somewhere along the lines of like 200 plus amps, maybe like in between somewhere like 200 to 400 amps of AC power draw, and that's just because again it takes so much power to dump or to fill up a battery in a fast charging scenario. And then I think another thing that's there is that as a branding standpoint, if they made like a little station where they had like a canopy and they put solar on it as well, so now you're not even pulling just from line power, but you're pulling from solar. I mean, it honestly, like, and it might cut down on some of the infrastructure cost. It's kind of hard to necessarily weigh it out as far as like running power to it versus like solar. So solar's going to have the constraint of like it's only going to get so much charge usage a day. However, like let's say for instance you had a partnership with a McDonald's and you said, hey, we're going to canopy off like one whole half of the parking lot, and that it's basically canopied off with solar panels, right? Maybe you still only have one physical charge location, 2 charge locations, but a whole entire canopy that protects people from rain so they can get in and out of their vehicle from the rain. And you could call it a Tesla solar canopy, or they can give it some cool branded name that would like help kind of give them some publicity on that side of things, as far as like maybe having a station that's just completely solar, and that Tesla is operating their vehicles on a completely solar standpoint. And again, like I think maybe that'd probably be more of a marketing thing than it would be a feasibility thing, because if we're talking about feasibility, it'd probably be better for them just to have a solar field out somewhere and then say, well, we're offsetting the grid usage by this solar field. But to have like a whole Tesla canopy with a Tesla Powerwall or Mega Pack or something that backs up the power and then dumps that power onto the into the vehicle is a very big like infrastructure. Well, it's a reduction in infrastructure. They don't need as much infrastructure, but yeah, it just gives them the ability to actually place this remotely. So with the solar canopy thing, if they do that and they can produce enough power off the solar canopy, you can literally put one in any location. You don't even have to have utilities in that area at all. You don't have to have water, electric, nothing. Now, given people don't necessarily want to charge in those scenarios, but like something like that could even be beneficial for them to, instead of like partnering, like they have pieces of land, and like every single interstate could have or every single interstate exit, especially when you get into like cheap farmland, could have basically charge locations, because you just have solar. You have to worry about utilities ran out to it, and they're basically kind of like their own standalone remote units. Now going back into like the partnership of these companies, like that part's one of the most extremely important parts, right? Doing the battery pack thing is kind of just an infrastructure workaround in case, like say for instance, the McDonald's doesn't have enough amperage ran to it. A lot of these facilities may only have like a total of 400 amps ran to their facility at like 240 volt, maybe 3-phase, probably most of them not even 3-phase. And so with that infrastructure constraint of like only having a total of 400 amps for the whole building, you don't have any more, like you don't have much more, at least, amperage to pull for doing supercharging. So just the battery backup alone can offset that. So again, they can charge 24 hours, and at least, even if they can charge a couple vehicles a day, right? That's not very much, but again, it kind of services the community. Like let's say, for instance, I used McDonald's as a good example. Evansville, Indiana, population of like 300,000. There's like what, 10 McDonald's here in Evansville, Indiana?
Yeah.
And so, that gets 10 separate locations throughout Evansville, Indiana, just for people to charge. So they don't have to be worried about charging. As far as like a concern for buying a vehicle, so that way you don't have to make a special trip to charge somewhere. And a perfect example too is like, we have these Meyer Superchargers. The Meyer Superchargers. We're actually about to go stop at them right now. However, maybe that's not what I'm doing right now. Maybe I want to go get something to eat. Maybe I don't want to have to walk, a quarter of a mile to get to the McDonald's or something like that. Versus like, if they already have the supercharger at a McDonald's, then it's there where I need it. Now again, this could be with any partnership, but McDonald's is just one of the best ones because they're in the most places. It's like the #1 fast food chain in America. So if you had that partnership and you was basically able to turn that on, now you're able to put basically a Tesla supercharger everywhere, because there's a McDonald's everywhere. Another potential one, but I don't think this is a good one, would be like Dollar General, since they have a business model of trying to have like a facility in like, what is it, like 25 miles or something like that, 10 miles?
What is it?
Dollar Generals, they want to have like a store in every like 10 miles.
It's 10 miles, yeah.
Yeah. So that Dollar General wants a store every 10 miles from one another. So with that being said, like that's the type of like partnership that's like that smaller sized facility, but their model is on volume. So if you have, a partnership with a Dollar General, it's not the best partnership for the sake of like, maybe I don't want to go to Dollar General. It kind of offers that same issue that a Meijer does. Like it's kind of just a grocery store. And on top of that, it's expensive in comparison to like a Meijer. But another good one that I would like to see, I don't know that everybody else would like to see this one, but is gyms. Planet Fitness would be a big one. It's one of the biggest gyms in the United States, and in every single city for the most part, or majority of cities. Made the supercharger 8% battery today. But yeah, just it's more the convenience thing of like, hey, I'm gonna stop in this McDonald's anyway. Let me go ahead and stop and get a charge. Like even if it wasn't scheduled for me to charge at this particular supercharger, the one that has at the McDonald's, like maybe I'll go ahead and just charge there for 5 minutes anyway to, prolong like the next time I need to stop again for another supercharger. And again, I think that, the solar canopy or the battery packs like is a good workaround around it. I think it's a good way for Tesla to like brand it. As of right now, they don't really have a product that's like that. I don't even know if they necessarily need it. I don't know that they necessarily need that product. Again, the biggest thing is the infrastructure, right? That's what it keeps coming back down to, is like a lot of companies just don't have the amperage needed, or there's not like local utilities where they're able to pull that much amperage from the existing lines. Like all those things have to go through approvals. Now in a bigger city, I don't think you'd have this problem, but if you have a city where its infrastructure's behind in its utilities, like maybe the utilities are just tapped out, and until like the city itself upgrades, then now we're talking about like maybe more like mid-sized or small cities, until like the utilities come through and get upgraded. Maybe there's just no more capacity to add more amperage to the lines that are existing, and especially at facility locations. Now you could have it ran from the line. Potentially there is at the line, there is enough power, but the cost of running power from the line to your facility, I mean, it might be $50,000, $100,000 to run that power, versus like with like if you could throw up like a solar canopy, then that would kind of be like the easier go-to thing. That's just like a branded, like you don't have to worry about things. So like when it comes to Elite Automation and our engineering, a lot of things that we engineer things in a way that we don't have to re-engineer them, right? Like we use like communication protocols like Ethernet IP, meaning you just plug in a cable, right? And then everything else is handled in software, versus like hardwiring one, and wire A has to get landed in wire A terminal. Wire B has to be landed in wire B terminal. Now there's always some of that, but like we've reduced it to where like 90% of what we do is through communication protocols and not through hard wiring. So we don't have to re-engineer every single system. A lot of the things that we do is just like plug and play, and like just changing the naming of something in like an electrical drawing. So that kind of like copy and paste method becomes a lot easier. Same with these superchargers. They probably, they definitely are good engineers, so they probably engineered this the same way. But to not have to worry about infrastructure, and like somebody has to come on site and say, okay, where are we going to pull the power from? Where's the nearest location? Okay, it's over there. We got to run it 674 feet over here to where we're going to have this DC charger. It's going to be this many amps. You don't have to worry about that. It's 4 stations. It's like it becomes its own product, right? This thing's going to be 1 station. We need a total of 4 solar panels to do that. We need a total of 4 Powerwall battery backups. We need, you know what I mean? And so like they can just have all those things together, or like maybe they need 1 mega pack or something like that. We need 1 mega pack. We need 4 solar panels, and that's going to be enough to suffice for servicing this. And we do need power ran to it, but again, I'm trying to remove that needing power ran to it, and just like let's just operate it off of solar. So that way it's just a matter of like how many kilowatts do we want to be able to execute in a day, and then from there you can calculate how many size of like solar panels that you have. So I'm gonna just step out real quick and show you guys like a prime example. If you've been to supercharged locations, then you kind of know. But so see like this whole row of superchargers right here. Imagine if this whole row just had like a canopy over top of it, right? And then all the way over to here too. Like we're at the last supercharger, but there's space going like 8 more spots over that way, where like just this one whole row, just a nice row, could all be like solar canopied, and be able to basically supply the power for these Tesla superchargers. Another big huge benefit that I think that a lot of people just like it, and I think would be a good partnership for like any of the companies that would be willing for this, is the coverage into their building. So like again, we're not talking about Myers, but for example, for like the Myers or whatever, like the lots or the rows that go into the door. If you from the door all the way out, you cover like 2 rows or 4 rows or something like that, that's a benefit to the company that you're partnering with, because you're going to canopy over that, so like people don't have to walk through the rain ever again. So this is kind of something that I've wondered why we haven't went towards this. I don't know if the infrastructure costs just too much, because of like just the stands and stuff like that would cost money. But if a company that's at scale like Tesla, and then we're like, we use the same solar panels, we use the same stands every time, like they should be able to go into mass manufacturing of those stands and be able to reduce those costs tremendously. Again, I know there's going to be quite a bit of infrastructure costs just for the metals and the fabrication of it. But if you go into mass manufacturing of it, then you know, you really reduce that cost instead of everything having to be in a manually fabricated stand and stuff like that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about, you know, this type of model, and then being able to partner with, you know, like McDonald's, the Subways, Chipotle's, Panda Expresses, you know, any of these things, right? What would be your favorite partnership for them to do? Again, I think McDonald's is one of the best ones just because of the number of locations. Not necessarily that I want to eat at McDonald's all the time. I'd much rather it be at a healthier place on a personal level. But I just think it's one of kind of the best business moves, because scaling out wise, they can scale out for the next 10, 20 years and just, you know, yeah, just kind of have endless deployment opportunity there. But yeah, let me know your favorite location. Let me know what you think would be one of the best brands, and let me know what would be your favorite like brands for them to partner with. Like for me, personal would be gyms, Crunch Fitness, Planet Fitness, these types of things. So that would be my top favorite. Hopefully this video was useful to you guys. And if you're interested in more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. We'll catch you on the next one.